That good? All right, kia ora koutou. Yeah, as mentioned, my name is Craig Scott. I'm a senior policy planner here, and we've got Hannah Hall as well, who is one of our consent planners. And basically, yeah, I did the review of the Papakāinga section back in 2015, but I'll do a really quick presentation of when it came into our plan and how long sort of the process that's been, and then Hannah's going to run through a few examples, which I'm happy to get questions on about the ins and outs of how that's gone. So it's actually been in our plan since 2003. Got introduced in the plan review then, but we found for quite a few years that there wasn't any uptake, and there was a working group put together that basically looked at how that can be improved, and that two things came out of that: the Papakāinga Development Guide from 2007, which I know a lot of councils have improved on, probably made it a bit more succinct, but ours was very comprehensive at the time, and it showed that there was a lot of different strands that people had to look at when they went through it. And as mentioned, and the other part of it was that a few key findings were discussed around what could improve the section, and one of them was that 1967 Amendment Act, Māori Affairs Amendment Act, which, you know, including that for controlled Papakāinga, also potentially opening up industrial and commercial opportunities, and then also allowing general title to be allowed for, provided for as a discretionary opportunity, which at the time was primarily because there were some people finding they couldn't convert their Māori title land. It wasn't really around the funding. That's one part we didn't really look at. But I guess the key outcome as well, that the collaboration group was between Puni Kōkiri, Māori Land Court and the Hastings District Council, and it really found really good working relationships, which I think helped a lot of people when they came in to speak to the various organisations through, and those relationships are quite key. I just want to point out that we're very proud of our district plan and how enabling it's been for a number of years, but as you would have picked up from Paul's presentation, it's not a magic bullet. We're just trying to make it as enabling as possible. There are so many other strands and so many other sort of types of work that have to go through to get Papakāinga off the ground. So it's just a matter of reducing roadblocks, I guess. And just really quickly running through what our plan. So as a district-wide activity in our plan, as a controlled activity, we think that works really well in terms of everyone being on the same board where they go in to apply for a Papakāinga, and it's controlled, assuming that you meet all of the standards and terms around roading and access and that sort of things. It mainly gets applied for a Māori title. Some of those reasons were discussed earlier, but we did provide that opportunity for general title. The next point about it being 2 to 8 dwellings, most of them were quite small to start with, but Hannah will go through and point out to me that in recent years they're probably getting larger, sort of a few more in the 10 to 15 range. So I guess that district-wide activity and how we've got it set up means that people can put in like sort of the size that they will suit their whānau and suit the size of the whenua. So yeah, that opportunity, and I think we were discussing, we don't have the exact numbers, but I think it's over 100, well over 100 Papakāinga have been established in Hawke's Bay. So that's a little bit different from the consents that we'll talk about in the next slide. And the last one was we have brought in the opportunity for like cottage industry at a greater scale than what other people can do on their plains or rural zone land, cottage industry and commercial, was to reflect that obviously there's going to be more dwellings on the land, and potentially there's opportunity to live and work on that land. Hasn't really been taken up. We've had a few inquiries around like tourism and that sort of things, but I don't recall seeing anything in regard to that. Right.
Kia ora, I'm Hannah and I'm a consents planner. I have processed quite a few of the Papakāinga resource consents in the last, I don't know, 10 years. since, yeah, the sort of numbers prior to 2015, we had 9 consents, and then after 2015 till now, around 35 consents for Papakāinga. So that shows quite a large increase in more recent years. When we think that the district plan works quite well in the fact that Papakāinga as a district-wide activity overrides the underlying zone rules, and seems to, most of the consents that come through seem to go quite smoothly. There's still obviously issues with engineering and depending on the site and earthworks, and I'll just show you a couple of examples of consents that we have had. This one on Papakāinga Road, which is a 5-dwelling Papakāinga. We still had some issues with access and the road itself into the Papakāinga, but most of it was, I would say, quite straightforward application. The earthworks is often makes it more like either restricted discretionary or discretionary activity because of the limitations from the earthwork section in the productive zones, not really applying to Papakāinga itself, but we seem to have got through that with these consents. This is a larger one. How many was that? 11 house Papakāinga, and then you can see across the road from Bennett Road there is another one there. Landscaping is quite a big thing. It increases the amenity of it. As you can see in this picture, the landscaping's got a bit more established, and I think it looks quite great. This is another one that we have more recently given resource consent for, and they are currently doing earthworks. So this is a 13-dwelling Papakāinga on the edge of the urban area. It is general land, and it had a declaration under the Māori Affairs Amendment Act. So the whānau could show that it had remained in whānau ownership since 1972, and that enabled, and also they put forward a covenant to ensure that continued administration and ownership would occur on that site, and there would be no further subdivision to satisfy the matters of discretion in the district plan. And this was also a discretionary activity due to the earthworks because it's in the Plains production zone, and the removal of soil is not generally anticipated by regular activities. And also another factor is that the district plan at the moment is quite enabling in that we generally don't require very specific site plans and building details at the resource consent stage. So often it's not known what's going to be constructed, and a decision is needed on whether Papakāinga can go ahead in the first place. So this is just an example of one where the houses are obviously not going to look like they do in the approved plan, but provided that they comply with the site setbacks and the building coverage when they apply for building consent, then that has gone through as a controlled activity. Anyway, I think that is the end of my slideshow.